a slingshot, and the enemies of my people are great and big and more numerous than we are. Well, little David, go down to the brook and pick out a few stones and come on back and close your eyes if you want to and pull back that slingshot and let it go. And David killed the biggest enemy, the leader of the giants, against his people, and his people became free, just letting God guide a stone in his hand.
We know we talk bad about Saul, but the only reason we talk bad about Saul because the Lord rejected him and he wasn't right. But still, he was the king, and the Lord didn't need his ass. Okay, he was the tallest man, taller than anybody, and the Lord didn't need his ass. And that's something humbling for me. I'm a tall dude or whatever.
This man, the Sicarii, he calls himself the Guerilla Hebrew, which he's not even a Hebrew Israelite. And this video that I'm doing is directed toward you.
Ne must also remember that an illegitimate offspring was destined to a life as a social outcast. The person of illegitimate birth and his subsequent offspring were forbidden to enter the assembly of the Lord, according to Duke 23:2.
What's your nationality? Before we go into the depth of the subject, I want to ask you, what is your nationality? Who is your father and your grandfather and your great-grandfather? Tell me what your nationality is. Because to me, you appear to be of someone of Middle Eastern ancestry. Please don't try to tell me you're Puerto Rican or you're Dominican or you're Cuban. For information that someone told me, you tried to claim that your father was Haitian and your mother was white.
And on top of that, calling yourself a chief priest, boy, if I'm not mistaken, ain't you a Mamzer? Ain't you a bastard?
Bastard, man.
Ain't your daddy the Haitian and your mama is a white woman? Well, brother, you not no priest, let alone no chief priest. You understand? That's what I'm saying, man. You shut down. You're not qualified to be speaking these things, man. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all niggas is crazy. And then it's funny because their leader's a white man. Tell this nigga, I want you to tell this nigga, and who this brother, this black man, this so-called Haitian is. That's my father. That's who I come out of. Yeah, tell him that he made a white man. How is that possible?
Which means you're not a so-called Negro then. And I've already addressed that in the video that I did, Interracial Relationships, stating, according to the scriptures, that a true Hebrew Israelite child must have a father and mother of the same nation. Hebrew Israelite. You're not our people. You're not of Negro descent. So you are not even qualified to even teach my people anything, because you are a heathen. You are not of the nation of Israel.
Melcher has recently drawn a connection between protection of patrilineage, that is purity of descent, and inheritance of the land registered sign. 3. The connection is that purity of descent ensures inheritance of the land. At least 3 ideas are wrapped in Melcher's construct purity of descent. Her use of this construct shifts among these 3 ideas. The first, 1, is that the law protects wholeness or completeness, that is, purity of the offspring. A priest should marry a woman from another priestly family, Lev 21:14, and he cannot marry a divorced woman, or one that is widowed. He must not marry a prostitute, a divorced woman, or a widow, Lev 21:14. A priest must marry a virgin, Lev 21:13. especially marriage and children, are used throughout Left 21-22 to define holiness through union with YHWH. The previous marriage and sexual prohibitions in Left 18 and 20 are heightened here in regard to priests. Leviticus 21:7 mandates that no priest is allowed to marry a prostitute or a woman considered defiled, and Left 21:9 requires burning any priest's daughter who becomes a prostitute. The reason given for the marriage restriction is that the priests belong to God. The reason for the daughter is that she profanes herself and thus her father, but the implication goes further in that she ultimately profanes YHWH through her father's role and status. Leviticus 21:6 makes this connection explicit. Tying the name of YHWH directly to the priest and those attached to the priest. The regulations are specified in more detail for the high priest. In Left 21:13-14, he is twice mandated to take a virgin for a wife, and specifically, one from among his people. The reason given is to protect his seed from becoming profaned among his people. Holiness is a corporate concern, requiring any who might be joined with the high priest in marriage to be clean for Israel and future children. Wholeness illustrates how priests function within a liminal stage in union with God as embodying holiness among the Israelites. Additionally, the root gl, defile, pollute, stain, with alep is introduced to describe the defilement of the priesthood by intermarriage. Ne 13.29. This root is a later form of gl, with ayin, a pollution term found in Leviticus. For example, Left 38:43, 26 hours, and 11 minutes.
He had a great image of being the champion of little folks. But I seem to sense that his motivation was to make Adam a big person. It was a means to an end. It was not the end in itself.
Adam first invited me to come down to Congress, and he paraded me around the dining room. I didn't like
many people who were clearly pro-civil rights and pro-blacks who were simply fed up with him.
Questioned in terms of his leadership, particularly by the white press. He's questioned about his leadership. He will get to a point and then he will say, well, you see, I'm black and you're white and you don't understand. Right. But I'm black and I don't understand. And I would like to know the matter.
The history of the Zadokites is often clouded in mystery, although they were the legitimate priests to be the high priest of the Jerusalem temple since the very beginning. When Solomon built the first temple, the Zadokites have had difficulty maintaining their dominant place due to external and internal factors. When the first temple was destroyed by the Babylonians, the Zadokites lost the place where they served as priests. Zadokites were exiled along with other remnant luminaries of Judah into Babylon, although the Zadokites maintained their dominant leadership in the exile. In the framework of collective trauma, their assumed position of leadership was questioned along with other philosophical questions about life. Thus, the Second Temple period brought a train of questioning, which ultimately led to internal power struggles. The end result was that some unknown regional priests capitalized on the confusion arising from collective trauma, induced popular discontent and the timely invasion of Syrian forces of Antiochus IV Epiphanes to launch a successful coup d'état against the Zadokite priesthood. The Hasmoneans eventually pushed out the Zadokites and even persecuted them. Zadokites fled from Jerusalem and the persecution of the Hasmoneans. Some Zadokites went to Egypt to build a Jewish temple in Leontopolis, Egypt. In order to continue to offer worship and sacrifice to Yahweh, other Zadokites wanted to stay closer to Jerusalem and believed that Yahweh would restore them to the Jerusalem temple. Holding onto this eschatological hope, some Zadokites formed a community at Qumran, which transmitted Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls, therefore, contain evidence for understanding the Zadokite displacement and Zadokite ideology in the late Second Temple period. Zadokites, being a highly literary and intellectual group of priests, were prolific in writing and production of scholarship, as evident in Qumran, but their writings reached far beyond the Qumran corpus, and it is possible that further discoveries of heretofore unknown writings of the Zadokites might be discovered in the future, as the Dead Sea Scrolls have been. Zadokites wrote more than just the scrolls found in Qumran. The Psalms of Solomon is a Zadokite propaganda literature. Like many of the writings in the Dead Sea Scrolls from these primary sources, we can see what happened to the Zadokites and how they survived. We learn what they expected for the future, and what the content of their belief system was. Obviously, the Zadokite struggle was not in a vacuum. There were the Hasmoneans persecuting them and trying to wipe them out in the constantly evolving history of the late Second Temple period. The Zadokites maneuvered to survive and thrive in preparation for the day of the Lord, when there would be a messianic deliverance by God. To survive, the Zadokites used highly sophisticated propaganda warfare. In fact, the Zadokites were the high priests for centuries. They lasted through the monarchic period, the exile, the return, the restoration, and the Ptolemies and the Seleucids. They lasted until the Maccabees fought and then assumed the high priesthood. It was at that time that the Zadokites retreated to Qumran and planned for the future.
Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this.
On the road doing sold out shows. On the road doing sold out shows. You wanna beat me, you just as a clone. Me and Cole Magazine pulling you phone. You was so trash, you get disposed. On the road doing sold out shows. You wanna beat me, you just as a clone. Me and Cole Magazine pulling you phone. On the road doing sold out shows. On the road doing sold out shows. You wanna beat me, you just as a clone. Me and Cole Magazine pulling you phone. You was so trash, you get disposed. On the road doing sold out shows. You wanna beat me, you just as a clone. Me and Cole Magazine pulling you phone.
You hear what he said? If is a preposition. Okay? He said, if you will keep my commandments, then if. Go ahead.
Then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me.
So if you don't keep his commandment, you will not be a peculiar treasure unto him. He's talking to the nation. The nation. Go ahead.
Above all the people.
Uh-huh.
For all the earth is mine.
You just read that. Go ahead.
And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests.
You shall be unto me a what?
A kingdom of priests.
So therefore, first you have to keep the commandments. Then you'll be a peculiar treasure. And then you do that. Then you'll be a kingdom of priests. If you is Israel, and you sitting before me, this is speaking to you. So if you ain't doing none of this, you are guilty. Go ahead, brother. What he said?
And then holy nation.
And a what?
A holy nation.
So how you gonna be holy if you don't keep the Sabbath? Huh? How you gonna be holy if you don't keep the Sabbath? How you gonna be holy if you don't be a priest unto God? This is the commandments, brothers and sisters. Whether you male or female, young or old, once you is Israel, this is what you agree to do.
Hi everyone, how are you doing? Shalom, 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 and Shabbat shalom to all of my Israel people, my Israel family, as we all journey on the path together, returning to Yahuwah's right ruling and right guard, and keeping the covenant and keeping the commands. And one of the commands I want to look at today, that we see very rampant in the world today, is that command about intermarrying, intermarriage, because sometimes it comes off like, you know, as black women, we're either being angry or malicious or something, and it's black men towards even black women dating white men. It's like, well, why you had to go out there, why you had to do that. But there's so much deeper roots to that, into that feeling that we have initially, because it's almost like it's ingrained in us to know that this intermingling and intermarriage isn't right. And I know this might come off different to different people, and I'm not trying to intimidate anyone or trying to bash anyone. I'm just speaking from the scriptures, and I'm speaking from what I've read and what Yah has allowed me to come on here and express. So I'm going to go through a few scriptures that clearly states that we should not intermarry and not intermingle with other peoples. It's clearly written that, you know, we should not mingle or intermingle with or intermarry with other people from other lands. lands, especially not in the lands where we're slaves, or where we're being burdened, because this causes us to stray from our ways. And it's, if you take a minute to just let all that seep in, you kind of start to realize, and you say, yeah, that sounds kind of right. And I think it's just a sitting in our soul where we know the right rules and the right commands without even having them written. Like in Noah and Abraham's time, they didn't have written laws, but they still knew. They had the spirit of Yah always with them, and that wisdom and understanding guiding them. So it's rooted deeply in us. So when Messiah came and wrote down, like literally giving us written words to go by, it was almost like a second to what we innately know. But Yah is like, okay, I'm gonna write it down for you and make sure it's in my temple. So when you come and do your offerings, and when you come and lay down your transgressions, that you remember these words, these rulings, these commands that I've set for us to keep in covenant with each other. I with you and you with me. This is the the decree. And so the rulings are there for a reason. And so it's found in Deuteronomy 7. You can go ahead and go read that. He says clearly that when you get into these lands that are not of you, that you're passing through to get into the land that I'm giving you, that I'm returning you to, you don't intermarry with these people. You don't give your daughters to their sons, and you don't give your sons to their daughters, lest they make them stray away and serve other people, other gods, other whatever they serve, other masters, the decree of Yah. And so, the rulings are there for a reason. And so it's found in Deuteronomy 7. You can go ahead and go read that. He says clearly that when you get into these lands that are not of you, that you're passing through to get into the land that I'm giving you, that I'm returning you to, you don't intermarry with these people. You don't give your daughters to their sons, and you don't give your sons to their daughters, lest they make them stray away and serve other people, other gods, other whatever they serve, other masters. And what do we see in the world today? So much of that dispersion of Israel. Not only just through Yah dispersing us because of what was done to Yahushua, but also this watering down and dispersion within ourselves, because we're choosing to go after other masters and other gods who don't come before Yah. Yah comes before. It's the same. It's that thing we're talking about. The watering down, the dispersion. And so you can understand why it's so right for Yah to say, do not intermarry your people with other peoples. You are my chosen. You are not to be intermingled or intermarried with any other peoples. This is in Deuteronomy. And even when you go into Israel, he speaks of it again. When he tore out his hair, he tore his garments and threw his face down at Yah in the temple and said, oh, we have so greatly went against you, because here are my people, especially the leaders, it said, who were going against the word and intermingling and intermarrying with others that were not of their people, that were not of Yah. The watering down, the dispersion. And so you can understand why it's so right for Yah to say, do not intermarry your people with other peoples. You are my chosen. You are not to be intermingled or intermarried with any other peoples. This is in Deuteronomy. And even when you go into Ezra, he speaks of it again. When he tore out his hair, he tore his garments and threw his face down at Yah in the temple and said, oh, we have so greatly went against you, because here are my people, especially the leaders, it said, who were going against the word and intermingling and intermarrying with others that were not of their people, that were not of Yah. And he threw himself down and did not eat for days. And Israel, he prayed to Yah and spoke openly, and the rest of the tribes heard, and they came and they wept, and they came at the feet of Yah and put down their transgressions. And they all came to the elders, group by group, all those who transgressed and had wives outside and children outside, came and put their face to Yah, so he could rule what is right for each of them. You know, and so why go through all of that when you already know the rule and the rights of Yah? Just follow his word. Do not intermingle and do not intermarry. I'm not saying that you cannot talk and be friends and hold word with people of other lands, especially people who recognize Yah as the one and only great I am, as Elohim, as Yahuwah, you know, El Shaddai, the Almighty, above all. That's perfectly fine. We can rap and talk and sing praise and worship all day. But even they aren't welcome in the temple of Yah. They stay outside because Yah has his Kadosh people. And we have to start remembering who we are. And stop letting the world tell you that you're at the bottom and you have to go and mingle with so-and-so and do so-and-so to level up. You are the level up. That is why they're tricking you into intermarrying with their people, because they know that you are the rule, that you are the right and Kadosh people of Yah. Do not be fooled. Do not let them trick you. Do not let them wear you out and down with their words. Read the word of Yah. Get in the scriptures and listen to what he's saying. In Deuteronomy 7, Ezra, and there's another book. It's coming from me now. In Ruth, you see where Ruth was a woman of Moab, but she was married into a Israel tribe, but her heart was of Yah. And so, I'm not saying like it doesn't happen, but the circumstances and she came to Yah, right? It's not like, you know, they go out and they say, oh, you go and marry that person. You send your child off, and they're so confused because they're under the rule of Yah, but this person that they've married is under a different rule. Like, you know, they go out and they say, oh, you go and marry that person. You send your child off, and they're so confused because they're under the rule of Yah, but this person that they've married is under a different rule. You've now split and watered down your inheritance of Yah and you've now split and watered down your inheritance of Yah and to Yah. So let's be more cognizant on, you know, this whole marrying and, you know, who we seek as partners and all of this for ourselves and for our children. It's so important as we come through this time now where Yah is calling back his children, calling back his servants, calling Israel, and to just make sure that whatever you're doing, whatever you're saying, whatever you're manifesting is in the right ruling way of Yah, is in the rightness of him. So his esteem can be over you and filled up in you, and his favor and his face turned to you. Do not turn away from the word of Yah. So go check it out. Deuteronomy 7. Ezra is a short book. It's closer to I think it's Ezra 10 or so, 9 or 10, where he starts where he tore out his hair. It was so funny. He tore out his hair and tore his garments. You know, when they tear their garments, or when we used to tear our garments, it was to, you know, kind of say something is wrong. Like, you're tearing a garment and saying, yeah, look at me, come to me, I'm sorry. Coming down on their knees and bringing his head down. He wouldn't even lift his head because the people transgressed. This was after they had gone away from Yah, and were slaves in Babel, and people started coming out of Babel and returning to Jerusalem, which is what's going to happen again. And here, you know, he's like, what? We built the temple, we're doing our offerings, and you still have this in and around us? There's still transgression, there's still, you know, uncleanness. And he couldn't even lift his head to Yah because he was so ashamed. And the people heard, and they were ashamed, and they wept, and they brought their transgressions to Yah. They brought those wives and those children that they bore outside the tribes to Yah, for him to rule right, for him to rightly rule what to be done. So just walk right, do what is right.
All right. Kahala Yahweh, Bahashema Mashiach Yahweh Shai. Kahala Yahweh, Bahashema Mashiach Yahweh Shai. Kahala Yahweh, Bahashema Mashiach Yahweh Shai. Bahashem Rakak Wadash. We are nations of kings and priests. I'm your brother Lazarus by my side.
Brother Ball.
We the cake unturned.
That's right.
We the cake unturned.
Right.
All right.